Hello, everybody. This is Adam, the Dabbling Warlock, and today we are doing day 3 of the Learn to Draw in 30 Days challenge. You can find links to Marc Brunet's video in the description. And yeah, let's just get started. So today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be drawing barrels, which may or may not be full of monkeys. So, one of the things you may remember is that yesterday I talked about like drawing simple shapes and complex shapes during yesterday's stream, and this is where we're going to put some of that into practice. So when you're drawing cylinders, whoop, that was kind of weird. So let's zoom in a little bit. So when you're drawing cylinders, it's basically you're drawing a oval or an ellipse, if you want to get technical about it, and then you're adding vertical lines to it. And I think this may be a little bit off. So, whoop. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Okay, let's clean this up a little bit. And we'll just redraw that. Okay. And then we'll try and draw this ellipse to match the one up above. Like that. And then the other part of this exercise is we're wanting to actually divide these in two on the length. So if you've taken if any of you remember your geometry classes, the cylinders have two components. So there is the radius and then the length, like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and divide these in half lengthwise. So halfway, we're going to be drawing another ellipse like this. All right. So the next part of this is we have to decide how we're looking at this, because there's actually two ways based on just how we drew this. There's actually two ways that this could be looked at. Let me just do a little bit of copy paste, and then we're just going to move that right over here. Okay, so there's two ways to look at it. So one, we could be looking at it from above, so like our eye level's like somewhere up here. And if that's the case, oh, hold on one second. Let me just merge that down. That way we're all on the same layer and I don't have to worry about which layer I'm on. So we just get rid of it like this. And let me just redraw that right there. Or we could be looking at, or our eye level could be like down here, and we'll be getting rid of these. So two ways we could be doing it. For the most part, I'm going to assume that our eye level is somewhere above the cylinder. And when we get into, there's going to be some exercises later on in this challenge where we're going to be drawing stuff in perspective and actually using perspective lines and that kind of thing. And in case you're wondering, there is a perspective guide tool in this thing. So yeah, we're going to get to play around with that a little bit. It's okay if you guys, if you're using like, hold on one second. The music's a little loud, and I'm having trouble thinking. Okay, there we go. All right, sorry about that. The music got a little loud, and then I was having trouble stringing words together, more so than usual. So, if you're drawing, or if like whatever drawing software you use doesn't have like perspective guides, that's okay. It gets easier to freehand this kind of stuff the more you do. Like I said, I'm out of practice, so that's the reason most of my stuff looks pretty bad. But one of the other things is that it's actually really easy to lay out perspective grids, or not even perspective grids, but lay out things so you can draw them in perspective if you're doing it on like a sketch pad or something like that. But we'll cover that whenever we get around to it. So just for today, don't worry about it. We're assuming that we're looking down on the cylinders. So like, say this is our cylinder right here, like that. And let's just give this some shading. That way it at least looks like it's a cylinder. And we're assuming our eyeballs are up here looking down like that. So that's what we're going to be assuming today. So let me just grab all of this. And, whoops, I think I may have grabbed the wrong thing. Okay. Oh, yeah. In case you're wondering, folks, I don't script these. I really don't. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, let's go back here. All right, so exercise. Draw 3 cylinders of varying proportions. So, and have like a dividing line, and you want them to also be stacked in front of another. So what's probably going to be the easiest way to do this is to start with the cylinder that you want to have at the back. So we're going to draw our cylinder that's going to be in the back. And assuming I can... There we go. So we're just going to go ahead and draw the full ellipse. And then about halfway, as close as we can get it anyway, we're going to draw another ellipse. All right. And then because we're looking down, we're not seeing... let's see if we can get a different color here. Let's go with red, actually. Yeah, that'll work. And if I have to, I can do that. So these 2 lines back here, we're not going to see them because the rest of the cylinder is in the way. So I'm just going to erase a little bit. Oh, whoopsie. So I think, where is... Let's see. Oh, there we go. That is... Okay, that is weird. That is the second time today that we've had a little bit of a... Okay, that is weird. Okay, I don't think this thing had... Wait, does this thing have touch? No. No, it's just doing weird things. So, okay, we're going to erase that and probably have to redraw a little bit more. That's okay. All right, there we go. Okay, so we're going to erase these lines right here. And fix where we went too far. And again, fix where we went too far. Just cleaning this up a little bit. Okay, so that's our first cylinder. Now, I'm going to switch colors real quick. Let's see. Actually, you know what? Let's get rid of that one. Let's go with that. So, okay, so there's our color. We're going to go with green for this one. So, so when we're talking about like cylinder proportions, we're talking about like the ratios between like the radius and the length. So this one's kind of a skinny cylinder. It's tall, but it's not very wide. So for the next one, we're going to draw something that's wide. We're going to draw something that's wider and like that. And on the short side. So something like that. So yeah, something like that. And we'll just clean this up a little bit. There we go. All right, so something like that. And then we'll go ahead and divide this in two. And one of the things you may notice is that if you make the cylinder wide enough and short enough, you might actually wind up overlapping these ellipses. So if that happens, just remember that we want to keep the part of the ellipse that we can't see and erase everything else. So like before, we're just going to go ahead and erase this part like that. And then we're just going to do that, and then we're going to very carefully erase this part. And we'll just clean this up a little bit. So there we go. Oh, got rid of a little too much there. All right, so we got those parts of the ellipse erase, but we're not done. We also want to get rid of the parts of the ellipse in the background that we can't see. So we're going to go ahead and erase those. And there we go. Now it looks like we got two ellipses that are in front of each other. And just real quick, I'm going to add some, I'm just going to add some shading. Actually, you know what? It probably would have been a little easier to do cross-hatching instead of trying to do this. Okay. So I got that one. And this one I'm just going to cross-hatch. Because it's a little bit easier to do. And if you're really good, you can actually use the cross-hatching to kind of help show the shape of the surface. As you can tell, I am not that good. So I gotta deal with my, like, kind of crappy attempt. Sorry. Okay, so we've got 2 of them done. So we need 1 more, and we're going to use that red color from earlier for this one. And again, if you don't have like a color pencil or anything like that, don't worry about it. I'm just doing this to make it easier to identify. If you don't, it's not that hard to keep track of stuff, even if it's all the same color. One of the things you can do is when you draw your shapes, just X out the line before you start erasing stuff. X out the lines that you want to get rid of, and then you can do this. Actually, if you look closely at the video that Marc did, you can see him doing this. And then once you got that X out, you can go ahead and give things a little bit more oomph. So we'll go ahead and just get rid of that. Okay, so for this one, let me move things over a little bit. And for this one, we want something that's, I'm going to shoot for something that's about equal. So we got like a short, fat cylinder, a tall, skinny cylinder. So let's get something in between. So let's see. Yeah, about right there. Okay, so we have that. And then one of the things you may notice is that, like, as we're like marching forward, I'm having these sit like further down on the page. So like the blue one is like somewhere around here, the green one's somewhere around here, and this one is, well, I was gonna try and have it be equal, but oh well. So the ones that are further back appear like higher up on the page, and that's because of perspective. But again, that's something that we're going to be learning more about later on. So let's see. So yeah, about right there. And then we're just going to draw the ellipse again. Like that. And then we're going to find about the halfway point, and I think it's about right there on this one. And just draw that one. And then again, we're going to erase the parts of the cylinder that we can't see. And we're also going to erase parts of the other cylinders that we can't see. And I'll just have to redraw parts of the red one. All right, there we go. So I think if we just do that, we got a little bit of that green. All right, so. All right, and then again, just give it some shading. Although with this one, I think yeah, I think that looks better. Of course, you can also scribble and just kind of space things out a little bit more as you line up. So yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. And just try and One of the things that you can do is um, as you get more confident with things, is that you can I apologize. I have lost my train of thought. So yeah, that's 3 of them done, and it helps. Even though you can get away with doing like these exercises once, it does help to like do it multiple times. So I'm gonna do it again, and this time I'm gonna show how you might go about it if you're just got a pencil. So as a matter of fact, I'm just gonna go ahead and switch to the pencil, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna be very lightly sketch in our shapes like this. And the reason we want to be light, especially if you're doing like especially if you're working with like a normal or a physical media or medium, I should say, is that it makes it easier to erase things. The more pressure you put down on paper, the more you crush the fibers in it, and the harder it gets to get all the graphite to lift off the page. That's one of the reasons why. You know what? I just realized that these 2 cylinders are not the same. Our 2 ellipses are not the same. So let's go ahead and retry that. So we want this one to be a little bit more like that. So light hand makes it easier to erase if you're doing this in a physical medium. And we're going to go ahead and get that middle one, that middle ellipse done like that. So all right, and that backside's going to get erased anyway. Okay, so just keep it light, and then we're going to go ahead and figure out where to place the next one. So one thing you might so another thing that I didn't mention is that if you're drawing something where it has the same shape, like all these cylinders are gonna be like circles. So if you're having trouble figuring out like where to place them, what you can do is you can draw, let me move this out of the way. What you can do is you can draw the circles like how you'd want to place on a piece of paper as if you were looking at them from the top down. So we're going to be doing something like, this. And let's assume that this is our piece of paper right here. So, so what we want to do, whoops, that's not going to work. So what you do is you draw it like on the piece of paper, like you would, and then you're going to take that piece of paper, pick it up, and you're going to hold it at an angle like it's the surface of whatever whatever these cylinders are sitting on. And if you look at it, what you're going to see is that, oh, whoopsie, wrong tool. What you're going to see is that you're going to have this circle like right there, and then you're going to have this bigger one over here, and then you're going to have this little one over here. And not only is that going to help you figure out where to place it, but one of the things you're probably going to notice is that like all these cylinders have similar proportions. So when you're freehanding it, try and match the shape that you drew. Just make it bigger. And it's okay if you take a few times before you get comfortable with it. You're learning. You're learning. Mistakes are going to happen. So. And now that I've done this one, I just realized that I'm going to be winding up with this very similar. Oh. Wow, I really messed this one up. Oopsie. Okay, so we got that one. What's the old tradesman? It's Creed. Welder and paint. Make me the welder I ain't. Okay. There we go. There we go. So we're just going to clean that up. And it's okay if we go ahead and erase that cylinder now. Now, because that's going to go away in a little bit. And this is where we're also going to see that thing I was talking about earlier with cylinders kind of overlapping, or the ellipses overlapping. If you draw the cylinder wide and fat enough, or skinny enough, or short enough, I should say. So like there is overlap. So we'll just very gently, yeah, maybe not do that just yet. Okay. So we're just going to clean up these lines real quick. All right. All right, so we have our cylinder, and that's looking a little off. Yeah. And this is... Okay. So, and also what I'm doing is I'm correcting things that I'm noticing are wrong. And that's part of what you should be doing whenever you do these things, is that you should be looking out for mistakes and correcting them as you go along. So like if you notice that like for some reason your shapes aren't lining up correctly, then go ahead and correct that. And wow, I committed all sorts of no-nos on this one. So one of the things that you'll probably see as you continue on is that you shouldn't have tangents. And you'll notice here that I got two lines that are really close together right here. And then I got this position to where basically this part of the cylinder is kind of tangent to that. So anyway, that's a no-no, but this is more about exercises and things like that. So we are going to... So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new layer. And we are going to pick something a little bit different. And what we're going to do is we're going to make the lines we're going to be keeping a little clearer. Like that. And then we're going to go ahead and do this one. And I think... And then we're just going to very carefully... Yeah, like that. And then we're just going to go ahead and draw that little segment. Although... Yeah, I think that looks a little better. All right, so we're going to go ahead and do that. And sorry for not really talking as much while I'm doing this. I'm trying to concentrate more on the strokes I'm making. And I think that one should probably come down a little bit more. All right, so we got that one. Okay, so I got that. Let's go ahead and get this one as well. All right, and then we're gonna go ahead and get this one. All right, and then okay, so we got that one. All right, so we're gonna go back to the. I'm gonna go back to the first layer. If you're using a, and we're going to go ahead and erase this, and we're just gonna make this eraser really big, so we can go ahead and get rid of all the lines. And we'll go ahead and get rid of that because that doesn't really matter. Okay, so we got this one. All right, so we're gonna go back to get that merged now, and then whoopsie, that should, and then we'll just so something like that. And then, yeah, that'll work. And then, oop, definitely want to make that smaller. And then we'll come back and yeah, it's all right. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. All right, so that's our second set of the cylinder, or my second set of the cylinders done. So we're just going to shrink that down like that. All right. So yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much all there is to this. And like I said, the idea is to get you to start thinking about perspective and to start thinking about how things are placed in space. So if you're having a little bit of trouble of if you're doing this and things look off, like it looks like things aren't sitting right, there's try one of the tricks I talked about. Take a piece of paper and draw where you would want to place the cylinders, and then hold it up at an angle like you're looking at the where these cylinders, and that will help you figure out where these need to go. Also, don't be afraid to play around, and sometimes it can be fun to, instead of trying to get the cylinders to all lay on the same plane, what if they're sticking out from the same wall? So like if you're feeling a little bit stuck, maybe instead of trying to make them all on the same lie on the same floor, think about what they'd look like if they were coming out of the same wall. Like this. assuming I could actually figure out what I'm doing. And then, yeah, something like that, and then just erase the lines that you don't need anymore. And we'll just have this one. And all right, so you see what I mean about like the things not really sticking out like where they should be. So we're gonna redraw this little one that's out in front. So yeah, something like that. And also, if you notice, one of the things I noticed is that like I was doing things. Actually, I probably didn't need to shrink that down. So one of the things I noticed is that I was kind of do things in the same order. So kind of tried to change it up a little bit here and there. And, although this one kind of did the same thing. So let's do one more, and instead of having like the short one in the middle, let's have the short one in the back. Whoopsie. One of these days, I'll remember to actually switch back to the brush before trying to draw. So we're going to have... So we're going to have the big one in the back. And this time, instead of trying to draw like the full height of the cylinder, I'm going to show something else that you can do. So you can try and draw the middle ellipse. Let's see. And then draw the sides of the cylinder. And then draw the bottom ellipse. So, sorry, order of operations, and kind of feeling it today. Time change really got to me. So, so what you do is you draw like one ellipse, it's top or bottom, doesn't matter. Then you draw the sides to the middle, where you want the middle to be, and then you draw the middle ellipse, and then you try and match the length of these two of the sides, and then draw the top or bottom depending on which one you started with. So now that we have our beautiful ellipse, or a beautiful cylinder, our big beautiful cylinder, our BBC, we are going to draw our next one, and then we're going to draw a let's see. We've done the skinny one in front. We've done the skinny one. Yeah, I don't think it matters. So actually, I think this one might have been better to... Oh, yeah, that works, though. That worked out. So... Okay, so we got that one. And we're just going to go ahead and erase the lines from the big one, just to make things a little nicer. And then that. And then let's see, about halfway. I think that's about halfway. So okay, so I do want to erase that just a little bit. And then just like that. All right, and then we're just going to erase the lines we don't need anymore. All right, so something like that. Okay, so that's our third one. And then we're going to draw our last one. Actually, that one's... No, we can make this work. We can make this work. So, although, actually, no, I don't like that placement. And we're going to move this around a little bit. All right, so we're going to... Yeah, like that. And then we're going to go right there. And then it's going to be our top. And then we're going to go ahead and... Yeah. That's okay. We can fix this. There we go. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and erase the parts that we can't see, just to make it a little bit easier on ourselves. All right, and then we're just going to go ahead and get this drawn on. Again, and then that's about where the center is. And the thing is, as you get more practice into this, eventually you get to the point where you don't really need to worry about drawing the other half of the cylinder. You can just kind of imagine it like that. So the thing is, these really do help. And just don't be afraid of making mistakes. You're learning. All right, so okay, I think that's gonna be it for me. I am tired. It was a little bit of a long day at work. And it's just so yeah, it's and that's one of the reasons I kind of having trouble speaking. So I hope you will join me for day 4 tomorrow. It's going to be happening a little bit earlier. Normally I got a thing with friends that happens on Tuesdays at about 6:30. So we're going to be starting at 5:30 tomorrow, not 6 o'clock. And hope y'all have a wonderful day, wonderful evening, wonderful day, and I will catch you then. This is the Dabbling Warlock signing off.